From massive gameplay features to game-changing quality of life features, here are some of the best changes from Warzone's history. Number 1, proximity chat. Obviously, this had to be included in the video. This was a feature that was introduced in the beginning of Warzone 2, and it allowed you to talk to your opponents in the middle of the game, giving you some of the best moments we had on this game. It's kind of crazy to think about that we didn't have this feature for 2 years during Warzone 1's life cycle, but a ton of games already have this feature, so it only made sense for Warzone to add this feature as well. Number 2, the rejoin feature. Towards the end of Warzone 2, we got this quality of life update, which included the rejoin feature. How this works is pretty simple. Whenever you get randomly disconnected from the game, you should be able to get a prompt to rejoin the game again. This is obviously a great feature for Warzone because Warzone matches can take upwards to 20 minutes, so when you're locked out of a match beyond your control, it's pretty frustrating to sit there and wait for the match to be over. Number 3, loadout chests. These are chests that are scattered randomly throughout the map, and whenever you open one, it gives you your favorite class setup for completely free. So let's say the game just started and you wanted to land somewhere, you could basically get your loadout insanely quick, giving you a huge advantage over the rest of the players who might have ground loot only. Although it's completely RNG based, don't get me wrong, but it rewards you for being lucky, which is always a good thing. Number 4, biometric scanners. You might be confused about what I'm talking about, but these are scanners in specific locations on the map, primarily being on Rebirth Island, that you could go up to and interact with, giving you a free key card. These key cards are random rarity from bronze to polyatomic, and depending on the rarity of the key card, you could get some good rewards from the buy station. And also, some biometric scanners can open vaults on the map, most notably the one at headquarters. This is such a cool addition to the game, and it made the game more interactive. Number 5, Omni movement. I know this might be a little subjective, but Omni movement was overall a good addition to the game. Being able to slide backwards and side to side provided a different feel of the game. This new addition of movement provided different movement text you could do and experiment with, and it overall made movement feel very different before in Warzone. Number 6, being able to swim in water. This one is pretty simple, but being able to swim in water is a great quality of life change they added, as before swimming in the water in Warzone 1 would have just resulted in you dying, which wasn't really exciting. However, when Warzone 2 introduced swimming mechanics into the game, you were still able to use your loadout in the water, which was pretty unfair in my opinion. But this issue got fixed when Modern Warfare 3 Warzone came out, replacing it with only a pistol. So I'm glad they changed this. Number 7, the FOV slider on console. Back in the day during Warzone 1, console players weren't able to change their FOV literally at all, so they were basically stuck at 80 FOV during the entirety of Warzone 1. This is due to how the game was optimized back then, and it made people that played console very frustrating. Meanwhile, people that played on PC can change their FOV whatever they prefer, and it gave such a disadvantage to console players. If you played on console back then during Warzone 1, you will understand the struggle. But luckily, this was fixed when Warzone 2 came out, giving an option for console players to change their FOV same as the PC players, which made the overall community very happy about this change. And speaking of good changes, number 8, built-in overkill. This feature is fairly recent as of the Black Ops 7 integration of Warzone, meaning back in the day you used to have to always sacrifice one of your perk slots just to have 2 primary weapons in your loadout, which wasn't really a big issue back then. But now since this feature has been added to the game, it allowed for more variety and explore more with our perks, which is always a good thing. Number 9, aftermarket parts and conversion kits. Introduced in Modern Warfare 3 Warzone, these were attachments you could add to your gun and give your gun more of a variety. For an example, you can make the Renetti, which was a pistol, and you could turn it into an SMG style gun, which happened to be one of the best guns at the time during MW3 Warzone. And there's many more combinations you can make with your guns. These attachments were honestly so cool and unique for the devs to add. This was such a fun and interesting way to give your gun more of a variety and experiment with different playstyles of your gun. Number 10, the return of one-shot snipers. We know with Warzone 2, there wasn't really any one-shot snipers in the game, and whenever they did brought it back to Warzone 2, it was not the way that we wanted. However, when Modern Warfare 3 Warzone came out, that all changed. Although only being limited to the Cat AMR at launch, sniping finally felt somewhat great again. With the addition of the Stalker, Morse, Car 98, and even the new snipers that came out recently in Black Ops 6 and 7, we finally had a decent pile to choose from when it came to sniping, depending on the game mode you're playing on. It's fairly balanced with different bullet velocities and damage ranges, but sniping is definitely getting some improvements and becoming way better. Number 11, the heartbeat sensor rework. If you played Warzone 1 back then, you would absolutely know there was a big problem when it came to heartbeat sensors. They were way too overpowered. Scanning up to 50 meters and having no penalty when you use it for an entire game is pretty crazy. The only counter to the heartbeat sensors were ghosts. Sacrificing one of your perk slots for something that was completely unbalanced was not very ideal. However, when Warzone 2 launched, we would see a complete rework to the heartbeat sensors. They will now have nerf range and a battery percentage, meaning you can't use these all game as the battery would run out. This is overall a good change for Warzone, and I'm glad this happened. Number 12, the Stim buff. I've talked about Stims a lot on the channel before, but to put it simply, the Stim buff that gave you extra movement for a few seconds was truly one of the best additions to the game, and it made movement feel very refreshing and very fun. It's sad to see that Stims are basically useless now, but it was still fun while it lasted. Number 13, prestige and event camos. Back in Modern Warfare 3 Warzone, the devs really started to experiment with different camos that were all so fire. There will be certain challenges you have to do to get some of these camos. For an example, like the live, laugh, lava camo, cloud watching, and and many other camos were all so cool to look at in game. Not to mention, these were so easy to get. These challenges were pretty simple to do and it didn't require too much skill, and it made the game feel very rewarding and grind worthy for these camos. Nowadays, both the prestige and event camos aren't as nice as before. It definitely feels like the devs have taken a step down from adding cool camo designs, but it was still a good addition to the game regardless. Number 14, ranked play. First introduced in Warzone 2, Call of Duty decided to add a ranked play experience for Warzone similar to how they have it in multiplayer, and the community absolutely loved it. This kind of revived Warzone for a period of time. This also gave players a motive to grind on this game. Before, all we really had was kill records and how many wins you have, but now we have an in-game metric to actually display your skill level that gave you something to brag about. There was also rewards you could get by reaching a certain rank, like calling cards, emblems, and camos, which were all so cool. Also, not to mention, ranked Resurgence on this game was probably one of the best and most fun we've had on this game in quite some time. Overall, ranked play had a huge impact on Warzone in a very positive way. Number 15, the new contract. Introduced in the beginning of Warzone 2, there's a feature nobody really knew about until days after the launch. If you got 5 wins in a row, you would unlock the secret champions quest. This is one of the hardest accomplishments to achieve in Warzone. Once you picked up the contract and activated it, you had to collect different elements that were scattered around the map, with each giving you a negative effect. From being marked for all players to see you, to taking random damage and messing with your HUD, this was pretty challenging. Once where all the elements are required, you have to wait for the bomb site to be revealed, then plant the bomb. Then you had to defend the bomb from being defused, and once you finally completed everything, you will receive tons of awesome awards. This alone was some of the most fun content to watch on Warzone, simply because it was so intense to seeing people complete this hard of a challenge. Also, not to mention, there's a Resurgence version of this, which I think is even way more harder and intense, but overall giving players a simple feature gave the players a motive to grind the game for this accomplishment. Number 16, the introduction of LTMs. This is a pretty obvious one. Limited time game modes is what makes Warzone exciting whenever they are done correctly. For an example, like Purgatory, where it's like the sandbox game mode and you can mess around and do whatever you want for a 2-hour time limit. The boys event where you get superpowers from chests like laser vision, super jump. While yeah, some of these abilities were very broken, it was a fun niche game mode for a limited time. And totally normal Resurgence, which was only available in Warzone 1, where everybody landed with specialists and loadouts dropped right off the plane when you first start the game. It led to inevitably a ton of people landing on loadout drops, leading to easy kills. This game mode also had extended circles and timers so you could drop even more kills, which back in the day during the time of this game mode led to the first ever world record of 70 kills on Rebirth Island. But in general, having new game modes to play, even if they're for a limited time, is very fun and very refreshing. Number 17, the introduction of the Resurgence game mode. Resurgence has been in the game for a while and it's single-handedly carrying Warzone for the past like 5 years, and for good reason too. This game mode is very fast paced and created for some of my favorite modes I've had on this game. Also, not to mention, this game mode is responsible for people like myself and many others that only play this game mode whenever I play Warzone. I know I can't be the only one. Resurgence holds a special place in my heart, and so has the next spot on our list. Number 18, Rebirth Island. We all know that Rebirth Island was one of the best additions they ever added to this game. From its simplicity of the map layout, fast-paced gameplay, iconic POIs, and many memories made on this map, many players like myself love this map to the point where this is the only map we really play. And when Rebirth came back to Modern Warfare 3 Warzone, it was like one of the greatest updates they ever made to Call of Duty. Rebirth will forever be my favorite thing they added to this game. Number 19, the addition of new POIs and snow on Rebirth Island. At the time of making this video, this addition hasn't been added to the game, but however, I already know this feature is going to be one of the best things they added, mainly because Rebirth Island hasn't received any cool graphic changes or aesthetic changes in like forever. So giving Rebirth Island a brand new POI and a new aesthetic change, that being snow, is such a good addition to the game. Also, not to mention, Rebirth Island has received 2 POI updates before, that being Stronghold and Control Center. These were 2 amazing additions to the map, primarily being Control Center, which is one of my all-time favorite landing drops. Control Center is so good because it's pretty easy to understand the layout, and there's so many people that land there. It creates this pretty chaotic experience, which makes the game way more entertaining, but however, it could get pretty frustrating, I can't lie. But overall, I'm excited to see the new improvements they are adding to Rebirth Island, so let's hope it's good. Number 20, Dynamic Resurgence. But this is a small feature that was introduced at the end of Warzone 2. This basically scaled down the Resurgence timer to whatever the team size you had, despite what playlist you were actively playing on. That meant if you were playing dual quads, you could get a Resurgence timer of duos instead of quads, and this made challenge lobbies way more approachable. But it also helps you significantly when playing with randoms who decide to leave mid-game. And I want to give a shout out to all the people that played Warzone 1 that had the world record kill holders in Resurgence, because pretty much all of them were playing solo quads, which meant they can't even die once or else their run would be over immediately. Obviously, this game has been out for more than 5 years, so there's plenty other great changes in Warzone's history, so comment below some changes I missed and I might make a part 2 of this video. If you guys enjoyed this video, feel free to drop a like and subscribe, and comment an eggplant emoji in the comments below if you made it this far into the video. YouTube thinks you'll like this video on your screen right now, so go check it out and see if they're right.